Hey, look out. It is Faith Talk Live. I'm McProbst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
The guy in the middle, if you're watching Zoom, is Jimmy Wolfe. He's a legend. If you'll check out his Facebook, I think you'll see a picture of him in a, I don't know, is it a sequin suit? It's like an Elvis suit, a gold suit.
That is a photo, yeah.
Why are you not wearing that today? That's the question. I want to see this.
I sleep in it. I've already gotten up and
they're your pajamas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
a photo from high school.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest pictures I think I've seen. I think I took a screenshot of it and I've sent it to everybody I know, all 2,050 friends that I have on the Facebook.
Great. Unfortunately, there are more embarrassing photos of me out there. That's one of the tamer ones. So.
One of many.
Yeah.
I was going back to just to catch up on some of the stuff that you've gotten yourself into. I mean, the good stuff, not the bad stuff. But
yeah.
Did you know that there's a neurologist named Dr. Jimmy Wolfe?
No, I didn't, but it sounds like he's done a lot more with our name than I have.
I bet he hasn't worn a sequin suit, though. So
no, he hasn't. He's not on Faith Talk Live today. So.
Exactly.
I'm looking at our screen here. It looks like an episode of Tiger King. Three of us. We look.
Hey, speak for yourself, okay?
Yeah, well.
I'm no Carol Baskin.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Oh, wow. That is awesome. Jimmy Wolfe on the show with us. From time to time, he fills in at Woodstock Community Church. In fact, he preached Easter service. We'll catch up with him on that and see how that went. But first, how you guys doing, your family and everything in this pandemic thing?
We're doing pretty well. My wife's a teacher, so she's having to teach from home, and that's been a challenge, but she seems to have gotten into the rhythm. And we have lots of kids. We have fewer kids this year than we had last year. So last year, we in March of last year, we got, February, we got 5 foster daughters at one time. They were all sisters. Mm-hmm. So we had 9 kids last year. And at this time last year, my back had gone out. So I was completely immobile. I was bedridden for 5 weeks. So we had 11 people in our home. Oof. And I don't own a mansion like Ken Kington, that West Cobb mansion he has. I mean, he can fit kids. You know, he could have 20 kids and not even know they're there. I know how, rich people like Ken live, but mega church pastors. Yeah, so this year we're down to 2 foster daughters, and I think we have 6 kids now. Is that right? I'll have to count them.
I think you've lost count.
Yeah. I just need them around to get me some, to do my chores and things. That's the only reason I have them.
That's a good idea.
No, they're great. So we're doing pretty well. And this time last year was actually a lot harder than it is this year. So we've all kind of adjusted to the pandemic like everyone else, and hoping that it passes soon.
Now your wife.
Go ahead, Dan.
I was going to say, your wife's a teacher. What grade does she teach?
She teaches 3rd grade at Woodstock Elementary School.
Okay, so are the kids, at least, especially at that age, are they able to get online? And are they having class online? What are they doing?
Yeah, she's giving assignments every day, and so they're having to get on and do stuff. And then I think she has different times throughout the week when she'll kind of talk to the class, and she's always available for parents and all that kind of thing. It's really been hard on parents.
Yeah,
especially with the new math and the way things are taught. It's crazy. So it's much harder on the parents than I think the kids.
As I mentioned earlier, Jimmy, you fill in, you do some preaching and stuff at Woodside Community Church. You did Easter. How'd that go for you? I read a quote, and of which I thought at first was the title of your sermon. It says, "This is the new upside down." What in the world did you preach?
I don't know where that came from. Yeah, so what I think happened is the elders at Woodstock Community asked themselves, who do we know who can preach to a nearly empty room and who can preach to an audience that can tune him out at any time? They said, Jimmy Wolfe. He's our man. That typically on Easter sermons, I'll shout out, "The tomb is empty," and someone else will say, "And so are the pews." So, I'm launching a new ministry, a pandemic pastor. If your church is having any problems kind of adhering to the 10 and under rule, just invite me to preach. And I guarantee you within one Sunday, your church will be compliant with the government regulations on 10 or fewer.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's why I love having Jimmy on the show. He's so funny. I didn't realize you did stand up. It's pretty amazing.
Stand up, I'm too lazy for stand up. I'll just sit down.
Sit down.
I'm sitting there. I've actually got my phone out. I'm just Googling jokes. So this is all not original stuff.
Now, the sermon about the upside down, was this a Stranger Things reference, or what? Or was this something different?
I must have. I think in the sermon I was talking about that when Jesus came, that there was a new kind of kingdom, and it's an upside down kingdom where the first are last, and the poor are rich, and the blessed are those who mourn, and the kind of the values of the kingdom are completely different than the values of the world. And so that was, I think that I really didn't. I think I must have said that upside down kingdom comment in there, and somebody picked up on it. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, speaking of upside down, this whole COVID-19 pandemic, it's really kind of flipped us all upside down in one form or fashion. What do you think we're learning from this as the church?
I don't know if we've learned it yet, but I think we're a lot of the things we've said about church over the years, I think we're having to really deal with the realities of it. So you'll hear pastors a lot of times say that church is not a building and it's not an event. Well, now we've always said those at events and buildings, and now we're kind of having to adjust, and of course now everyone's kind of gone to online meetings and that sort of thing. But I think it's making us really ask fundamental questions about what the church is, and if let's say we were never able to meet on Sundays again, that's not going to happen. If that were true, would the church still be able to exist? I mean, if the church is the body of Christ, and it can thrive in times like this, but it's much more than a Sunday morning gathering. And so, how can we be the church? How can we be the family that God has created in the world? And how can we love one another as He has loved us in an environment where we don't get together once a week? And I think it's great for us to ask those questions. When I was planning a church years ago, one of the questions that was asked to me at the time that was very meaningful was, pretend like you couldn't do church on Sunday. How would you do church in your community if you couldn't meet on Sundays? And so, because the reality is we spend a lot of resources, a lot of energy, a lot of staff, a lot of creativity on 1 hour a week. But there's a lot of other hours and there's a lot of other days. So the church surely has to exist. So I think the question of how do we equip people to love others as they're loved by God is a great question to ask. And the good news is we have more technology to do that. There's lots of resources. If pastors and church staffs will think creatively, I think there's lots of great ways to equip people and to be the church in the world, even if we never are able to go back to what we're used to doing. And the reality is there may be some churches that aren't able to do that. Maybe financially, maybe some churches will go under, but the church is not the 501c3s that meet on have staffs and meet on Sundays. It's the body of Christ. The church is the fruit of people learning to live loved by God. As we're learning to live loved by God and we love one another with that same love, then what happens is called the church. And so it's much bigger than typically how we define church. So anyway, I kind of blathered on there for a little bit.
No, that's good.
Really good.
And of course, we have to start at home. We're all stuck at home with our families, and obviously, church starts at home too. And I think God is using this to kind of to force us to look and go, oh, look, I've got people that I can disciple right here in my own house. How would you encourage folks in that as they're at home with their family and getting to know them again?
Yeah, well, I think the first step of all the is what Jesus said, which is the way the world will know that we are His disciples is we love one another as He has loved us. So I think the important thing is always to draw your heart close to being loved by God, and to know how deeply loved you are, whether you're performing well as a parent or a husband or a wife, or performing well as as a homeschool teacher now, and you're not, no matter how you're performing, that you are indescribably loved by God. And as you soak and are nurtured by that love, it really sets us free to love one another in the same way. So so discipleship is teaching your kids and teaching, others how to love the way you are experiencing God's love. And that's a sacrificial servanthood kind of love that's much different than the way we typically think of love, which is usually mutual accommodation. So so discipleship, discipling your kids and your family is all about teaching people how to love as you're experiencing love. And that's where it all begins. It gives us the resources to do that and the example to love that way. So
good stuff.
Love that. Jimmy Wolfe, follow him on Facebook. And if you need someone to speak at your church, and he was joking about taking it from, 15 to 20 to 2 or 3. He's got a huge heart, and he shares from his heart, and amazing messages. So follow
and he
him
has
on
a sequin suit, so
Oh yeah. I'm not fitting into that. I'm not fitting into that suit. That's
I think next time what we'll do is we'll get Jimmy and King Kington on the same show, and we'll just let them battle it out. What do you think?
Oh yeah,
I like it.
Yeah, put the arch enemies in the same room together. That'll be tough.
Jimmy Wolfe, follow him on Facebook. Jimmy, we got to go. Thank you so much for being on the show. We'll have you back on soon. We always love having you as a guest. Hey, we'll be right back. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
They're right there.